You walk him every morning, you fill his bowl. You make sure he's warm at night. You've done your best to love him in the way you know how. But what if I told you some of those very things you do every single day are the things he will never forgive? I'm not talking about the times you forgot a treat or came home a little late. This is about actions so common, so ordinary, that most owners don't even notice, yet they quietly chip away at your dog's trust. It's not about the food in his bowl, or how long your walks are, or how expensive his toys might be. It's something smaller, quieter, hidden in plain sight. And here's the part most people never hear: 70% of dog owners make at least one of these mistakes without realizing it. That means, the odds are, you might be one of them. I know it sounds heavy. But here's the truth. You don't need fancy training tools or complicated techniques to fix this. You just need to see your dog in a slightly different way, and let him see you differently too. When you do, you'll notice it in the way he looks at you, the way he relaxes when you walk in the room, the way he follows you, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Today, I'm going to show you 16 things your dog will never forgive, and how to turn every single one of them into moments that make your bond stronger than ever. Anyone can do this. You can start before the next time you clip on his leash. The question is, are you ready to be part of the few whose dogs don't just obey them, but adore them for life? Then let's begin with the mistake most owners make on their very next walk. You've done it before. I've done it before. Almost every owner has. You're out for a walk, your dog starts pulling, and without even thinking, you give the leash a quick jerk. It feels like the natural way to get him back under control. But let me ask you, if someone yanked you by the neck while you were walking, how would that feel? That sharp choke, the sudden pressure, the jolt you didn't see coming. Your dog feels the exact same thing, but he can't tell you in words. And here's the part that's hard to hear. Studies have shown that repeated leash jerks can damage the trachea, compress blood vessels, even cause injuries to the spine. For smaller breeds like pugs, chihuahuas, or poodles, that pressure can lead to a collapsed trachea, which means lifelong breathing problems and a cough that never really goes away. I know you never meant to hurt him. None of us do. But physical damage isn't the only wound. Every time that leash goes tight and snaps, you might be teaching him that walks are something to fear. You've seen it before: the dog who hesitates when the leash comes out, or who clings close to his owner not because he's obedient, but because he's afraid of what happens if he moves too far ahead. That's not trust. That's tension. And the thing is, this one's easy to change. Switch to a harness that takes the pressure off his neck. When he pulls, don't yank back, just stop and wait. Give him a little more freedom with a longer leash. And the second he walks without pulling, tell him he's good. Reward him right there in the moment. It's not about letting him run wild. It's about showing him that walking with you is safe. Do that, and you'll see something change, not just in his stride, but in his eyes. And that's the kind of moment no dog will ever forget, or need to forgive. But if you think pulling on the leash is the only everyday habit that chips away at your dog's trust, wait until you hear what happens when you raise your voice even once. You've probably done this too. I have. The dog chews a shoe, knocks over the trash, or ignores you when you call him. You feel that flash of frustration, and before you even think, your voice is up. Maybe you shout his name. Maybe you throw in a no that echoes across the room. It feels like you're teaching him a lesson. But here's the problem: he has no idea what lesson you think you're teaching. Dogs don't link a scolding to something they did 5 minutes ago. They live in the moment. So when you raise your voice, All he feels is the heat in your tone, the tension in your body, the way your face changes. To him, you're not correcting a behavior, you're suddenly unpredictable. And unpredictable is scary. In a study comparing aversive training to reward-based training, dogs in the aversive group showed more stress behaviors, higher cortisol levels, and even what scientists call pessimistic judgment. That means they stopped expecting good things to happen. Imagine living like that with someone you love. You've seen the signs: the dog who avoids eye contact, slinks away when you approach, or freezes when you speak sharply. He's not being stubborn. He's protecting himself from you. And here's the truth. You need to hear every shout chips away at trust. And trust is the glue that holds your bond together. Changing this starts with your tone. Keep it firm, keep it calm, and show him what you want instead. If he's chewing your shoe, swap it for a toy. If he's barking too much, redirect him to something else and praise him the moment he stops. You can still guide him without making him fear you. Because once a dog learns to fear his owner, there's another kind of damage that follows. And it doesn't come from sound, but from what you choose to ignore. And that's what we're going to talk about next. You've seen it happen. The vacuum roars to life, and your dog bolts to the other room. A thunderclap shakes the house, and he dives under the bed. Maybe it's something smaller, a beep from the smoke detector, a new piece of furniture in the corner. You look at him trembling, and maybe without thinking, you laugh. Or you pull out your phone to record it, because it's cute. But here's what he knows that you don't. In his mind, in his body, that moment is deadly serious. Dogs can develop deep fears of sounds and objects we barely notice. In one study, researchers found that household noises, especially high-pitched, unpredictable ones, can trigger stress just as much as fireworks or thunderstorms. And here's where we, the people who love them, make a mistake. We think ignoring it will make it go away. Sometimes we even make it worse by teasing, pushing the scary thing closer, or telling them to get over it. But fear doesn't work that way. In that moment, your dog isn't being dramatic. He's asking you to keep him safe. When you dismiss or mock that fear, you're not just leaving him to deal with it alone. You're telling him you can't be trusted when he's most vulnerable. And that's a wound that doesn't heal quickly. Instead, help him build courage step by step. Let him see the object from a distance, reward him when he looks without flinching, then slowly close the gap over days or weeks. Show him you'll stand beside him until the fear shrinks down to nothing. Because if fear is left to grow, it can turn into something even more painful for both of you. It's not just about what scares him, it's about what happens when he thinks you might never come back. And that's where we're headed next. You grab your keys, put on your shoes, and he's already watching you. His ears twitch, his body stiffens. Maybe he follows you from room to room. You think it's just habit. But for him, it's the moment the clock starts ticking, on a kind of loneliness you can't measure in minutes. Dogs don't understand work schedules, errands, or "I'll be back soon." They just know you're gone. And they don't know for how long, or if you're coming back at all. Some dogs cry, bark, or chew through the couch when they're left alone. Others go silent, lying in the same spot, until you return like they've given up on the day. In a large-scale study, researchers found that separation-related behaviors are linked to fear, panic, and even depression in dogs. It's not mischief. It's anxiety, pure and simple, and it comes from not knowing how to cope without you. I've seen the signs. Maybe you have too. The howling neighbor dog, the torn-up rug, the silent one who doesn't eat until his owner returns. Each one is telling the same story: I don't feel safe when you're not here. And the truth is, This kind of fear doesn't just fade over time, it gets worse, and it can change the way your dog sees the world. And you. But here's the hope. You can teach him that being alone doesn't mean being abandoned. Start with minutes, not hours. Leave him with a shirt that smells like you, a toy that takes time to figure out, maybe some quiet music in the background. Come back before the panic sets in. Show him that departures are temporary and returns are certain. Do that enough times, and you'll see the shift. He'll start to believe you. Because when you give him that kind of security, you protect the trust you've built. And that trust can still be broken in a moment you might think is affectionate. That's the next mistake, and it's one most people don't even realize they make. He's in your arms, soft and warm, and you don't want to let go. Maybe you're protecting him from a stranger, or maybe he's just so cute you want to hold him a little longer. But here's the thing. Most owners never think about. Not every hug feels like love to a dog. Sometimes it feels like a trap. Dogs aren't built for forced contact. When you wrap your arms around him and don't let him move, you're taking away one of his most important comforts, the ability to choose. In studies on canine behavior, dogs restrained against their will showed more signs of stress, lip licking, yawning, stiffening, even turning their head away to avoid eye contact. And if that escape isn't possible, some will freeze. Others might snap, not because they don't love you, but because they've learned they can't get free. It's easy to miss the signs. You think he's calm in your arms, but maybe he's just shut down. Maybe that slow blink isn't contentment, it's resignation. And every time you ignore those signals, you're telling him your affection matters more than his comfort. That's not the message you want him to carry. The fix is simple. Let him come to you. Let him lean in, nuzzle your hand, rest his head on your lap. When the contact is his choice, it's trust in action. And trust is the kind of love he can feel, not just endure. Because here's the truth. No matter how much you love him, time is moving. One day you'll look over and realize he's not the same dog he used to be. And if you don't see the signs, you might miss the moment when he needs you most. That's the next mistake. It happens quietly. There's no big event, no sudden change. One day he just moves a little slower getting up from his bed. He lags behind you on the walk. He spends more time sleeping, less time chasing the ball. And you tell yourself he's just tired, maybe a little lazy. But here's the truth most owners don't want to face. He's not lazy. He's aging. And aging means pain he can't explain to you. In a study of older dogs, researchers found that many owners missed the signs of chronic pain, especially arthritis. They didn't recognize the stiff joints, the careful way the dog shifted his weight, the hesitation before climbing stairs. To us, it looks like he's just slowing down. To him, every step might be a quiet wince. I've seen this mistake break hearts. Not because the owners didn't care, they cared deeply. They just didn't know what they were seeing. And by the time they realized, the damage was harder to manage. But here's the good news. When you spot it early, you can make his life so much easier. Softer bedding, shorter but more frequent walks, joint supplements, pain relief approved by your vet, small changes that tell him you see him, you understand, and you're with him every step of the way. Because this isn't just about comfort, it's about dignity. And when you give an old dog dignity, you give him a reason to keep going. But even a dog who trusts you completely can lose that trust in seconds if you take away something he loves without warning. And that's where we're going next. Picture this. He's chewing his favorite toy tail, gently wagging, completely lost in his own little world. Or maybe he's halfway through his dinner, head buried in the bowl. And then, Without thinking, you reach in and take it away. Maybe you just wanted to see if he'd let you. Maybe you needed to throw the toy or wash the bowl. You think it's no big deal. But in his mind, you've just proven that the things he treasures aren't safe when you're around. Dogs don't guard food and toys because they're selfish. They guard them because they're afraid of losing them. In studies on canine behavior, this is called resource guarding, and it's often created, not cured, by owners who repeatedly snatch things away. Over time, that fear hardens into habit. The low growl when you get too close. The tense body over a toy. The snap if you don't back off. And once it's there, it's hard to undo. I've seen dogs carry a toy to the farthest corner of the house, watching every move you make, because they've learned that what they love can disappear in an instant. The fix isn't to force your hand into his bowl or prove dominance. It's to teach him that letting go leads to something better. Offer a trade, a treat for the toy, a fresh bite for the bowl, and then give it back. Over time, he learns you're not the thief in the story, you're the giver. Because when a dog feels safe in what's his, he's safer with you. But even when you get that part right, there's another mistake that can undo your good intentions, one that comes from wanting him clean, but ends up stripping away something his body needs every single day. That's next. We all want our dogs to be clean. That fresh scent after a bath, the soft coat under your hand, it feels like love. So it's easy to think, the more often I bathe him, the better. But here's what most owners never realize. Every bath takes something away from him. Not the dirt, not the smell. Something his body actually needs. A dog's skin produces natural oils that protect against bacteria, keep the coat healthy, and lock in moisture. Wash too often, and you strip that layer away. What you're left with is dry, itchy skin, a dull coat, and sometimes even infections. Vets see it all the time, well-meaning owners bathing their dogs weekly, even daily, without knowing they're washing away the first line of defense. And here's the part that's tricky. If you go too long without a bath, you can swing the other way. Dirt, excess oil, and bacteria can build up and cause problems of their own. The sweet spot for most dogs. About every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the breed and lifestyle. In between a quick paw and belly wipe after a walk is enough to keep him fresh without damaging his skin. I've met owners who only learned this after months of chasing skin issues, switching shampoos, trying supplements, never realizing the real problem was simply too much soap and water. Once they eased up, the coat came back, the itching stopped, and the dog was more comfortable than he'd been in months. Because here's the truth, you can fix a skin problem, but there's another kind of harm that's harder to repair. It's not about what you wash off, but about what you say or how much you say every single day. And that's where we're heading next. We all talk to our dogs. Sometimes we talk to them like they're people telling them whole stories, explaining why we're upset, or reminding them again what they did wrong. It feels like we're communicating. But here's the thing. Dogs don't speak in paragraphs. They live in short, sharp words and the tone that wraps around them. Science has shown that dogs process vocabulary and tone separately, and they only pick out a few familiar words from all the noise. So when you say, "I told you not to take food off the table," what he hears is a stream of sounds, maybe catching food or table, but missing the meaning you think you're giving. And the longer you go on, the faster his focus slips away. I've watched this happen. The dog's ears flick once, then his eyes wander, then he just lies down, not because he understands, but because he's tuned you out. That's not defiance, it's just how his brain works. And the more you drown your commands in extra words, the harder it is for him to connect action to meaning. The fix is simple. but powerful. Keep it short. 1 or 2 words for each command, always the same. Always with a tone that matches what you want. Sit. No. Come. It's not less loving, it's clearer, kinder, and far more effective. And when he knows exactly what you mean, he can give you exactly what you're asking for. Because clarity builds trust. And that trust can shatter in an instant if you startle him in the one place he should feel safest, his sleep. And that's the mistake we're about to hit next. He's curled up in his bed, breathing slow pause, twitching in a dream you'll never see. Maybe you reach down to stroke him, or you touch his side to wake him up for a walk. You mean well. But in that moment, you've just ripped him out of the deepest, safest part of his day, and he doesn't know why. Dogs just like us have stages of deep sleep where their bodies heal, and their minds process everything they've learned. When they're jolted awake, the confusion hits first, then the fear. For older dogs, or those with fading eyesight, or hearing that fear can be sharp enough to trigger a defensive reaction. I've seen sweet, gentle dogs snap in that split second, not because they're mean, but because they were scared. And here's the part most people miss. It's not about never waking your dog. It's about how you do it. Call his name softly from a few feet away. Let your footsteps or your voice be the first thing he notices. Give him those few seconds to swim up from his dreams before you touch him. That tiny bit of space tells him you respect his world as much as he respects yours. Because when a dog feels safe, even in his most vulnerable state, that safety carries into everything else you do together. And that feeling can vanish if you take away one of his greatest joys, the chance to explore the world through his nose. That's where we're going next. For us, a walk is about movement, getting from point A to point B, maybe stretching our legs, maybe burning off some energy. But for him, it's a story unfolding under his nose. Every tree, every patch of grass, every corner holds 100 scents, each one telling him who's been there, what they were doing, even how they were feeling. This is his news feed, his social network, his way of reading the world. And too many of us keep yanking him right past it. I've seen it over and over. The leash goes tight. The owner pulls forward. The dog is forced to leave a scent mid-investigation. We think we're teaching him to walk properly. What we're really teaching him is that his curiosity doesn't matter. Studies on canine enrichment show that sniffing not only reduces stress, but also improves a dog's mental well-being. Denying that isn't just cutting the walk short, it's cutting short one of his greatest daily pleasures. Letting him sniff doesn't mean letting him drag you all over the place. A longer leash, a little extra time at that one interesting spot, maybe a walk that's about him instead of about you, those moments tell him you value what he values. And that deepens trust in a way commands never will. Because when you respect his joys, you shape the kind of dog who trusts you with everything. And that trust can take a painful hit if you let him think your hands are just another toy for his teeth. That's the next mistake we need to talk about. It starts when he's small enough to fit in your arms, all clumsy paws and soft teeth. You're playing on the floor, he mouths your fingers, and you laugh because it doesn't hurt. Maybe you even wiggle your hand to keep the game going. In that moment, it feels harmless, adorable even. But what you're really teaching him is that your hand is a toy. Fast forward a year. Those teeth are stronger now his jaw can crush a bone, and that same playful nip leaves a mark. He doesn't know the difference between puppy bite and too hard. You taught him that the rules don't change. And one day he'll try it with a child, or with someone who doesn't understand he means no harm, and that's when things can go wrong fast. I've seen this mistake turn into heartbreak. A dog loses freedom, or even his home over a behavior that started as a game. But here's the good news: you can stop it before it ever becomes a problem. Never use your hands as the toy. Always redirect to something he's allowed to bite: a rope, a ball, a chew bone. If his teeth touch your skin, end the play right there. He'll learn quickly that gentle mouths get more time with you, because the way you set boundaries now shapes how safe he'll be around everyone he meets. And even when you get that right, there's another way we cross his boundaries without realizing, not with our hands, but with the clothes we put on his back. And that's next. You see a tiny sweater in the store, maybe a raincoat with little paw prints, and you picture how cute he'll look. Or maybe it's cold outside, and you think he needs this to stay warm. Sometimes you're right. But here's the truth. Most people don't think about: not every dog needs clothes, and not every dog is comfortable wearing them. For breeds with thick coats, huskies, malamutes, shepherds, that extra layer can trap heat and make them miserable. I've seen dogs freeze in place the moment the shirt goes on, not because they're shy, but because they feel trapped, restricted, unsure how to move. They lick their lips, turn their heads away, maybe even refuse to walk. These are their ways of saying, "I'm not okay," and if we ignore that, we're telling them their comfort doesn't matter. Of course, for short-haired breeds, seniors, or dogs with health issues, the right clothing in the cold can be a kindness. But the key is to watch him. If he moves easily, if his body stays loose, if he goes about his business without trying to get it off, you've probably made the right call. If not, take it off. Sometimes the best way to show love is to let him feel like himself. Because when a dog feels free in his own skin, he can focus on you, and that connection grows in ways you can see. And one of the most powerful ways he builds that bond is through something so simple you might not even notice it until you take it away. That's what we're talking about next. You've felt it, that quiet moment when he's lying nearby, his eyes fixed on you. Maybe you're reading, cooking, watching TV, and you catch him just watching. Some people get uncomfortable with that and try to break the habit. They shoo the dog away or tell him to stop staring. But here's what most owners don't realize: that gaze is one of the purest gifts he can give you. In the wild wolves, look to the leader for cues, reading every move, every breath, to know what's coming next. Our dogs do the same, but with one extra layer: love. Research has shown that when dogs and their people make soft, sustained eye contact, both experience a rise in oxytocin, the same hormone that bonds a parent to a child. That look isn't random. It's trust. It's connection. It's him saying, "I'm here with you." When we push him away in those moments, we're not just ending eye contact. We're closing a door he's been brave enough to open. And if it happens enough, he'll stop trying, not because he doesn't care, but because he thinks you don't want it. The fix is so simple, it's almost silly. Let him look. Meet his eyes. Smile. Say his name softly. Give him a gentle touch when he comes closer. Those tiny moments add up, weaving trust tighter every day. And when you have that trust, you protect it with everything you've got, especially when it comes to what you feed him as he grows older. That's our next stop. He's been eating the same food for years, and he still finishes every bowl. You take that as a good sign. Why change what isn't broken? But here's the truth. Most owners miss what worked for him. As a young dog might be quietly working against him now. As dogs age, their bodies change in ways you can't see. Muscle mass starts to slip away. Joints take more of a beating. The immune system needs more help to fight off illness. Studies on senior canine nutrition show that older dogs often need more high-quality protein, not less, along with targeted nutrients, to keep their bodies strong without packing on unhealthy weight. keep feeding a one-size-fits-all diet, and you could be starving his muscles while feeding his waistline. I've seen dogs come back to life when their diet was tailored to their age. More energy, brighter eyes, even a shinier coat. It's not about trendy ingredients or expensive brands. It's about the right balance for where he is right now. Talk to your vet. Ask what adjustments would keep him healthy and active for as long as possible. The food in his bowl isn't just fuel. It's medicine. It's love you can measure in every bite. Because when you feed him for the life he's living now, you're giving him more good days. And yet, even with the perfect diet, there's one last mistake that can undo it all, not seeing the signs when something's wrong until it's too late. That's where we're going next. It's easy to think you'd notice right away if something was wrong. But dogs are masters at hiding pain. It's in their nature. In the wild, weakness can be dangerous. So they mask it. They keep moving, keep wagging, keep showing up for you. Until they can't anymore. Maybe it starts small. He skips a meal here and there. He doesn't greet you at the door like he used to. His walk slows just a little. Or he spends more time lying in one spot. You tell yourself it's nothing, that it'll pass. But those subtle shifts are often the first signs of something bigger: kidney issues, heart problems, even cancer. By the time the signs are obvious, the fight is harder, the options fewer. I've watched owners carry the weight of that regret, wishing they'd taken the trip to the vet sooner, wishing they'd trusted their gut instead of waiting. The truth is, you know your dog better than anyone. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't wait for it to get worse. Get the checkup. Run the tests. Give yourself the peace of knowing you acted when it mattered most. Because catching something early can mean more days together, more walks, more quiet moments, where he just looks at you like you're his whole world. And that's the point, isn't it? To give him a life so full of trust, safety, and love that there's nothing left to forgive. You started this video because you love your dog. You walk him, feed him, keep him warm at night. You've done those things for years, believing they were enough. And maybe they were, until you realized some of those habits could quietly be hurting him. 70% of owners make at least one of these mistakes without knowing it. But you've made it to the end, which means you're not in that 70% anymore. Think about what you've seen here. 16 ways trust can be chipped away, sometimes by a jerk of the leash, sometimes by a raised voice, sometimes by what you don't see at all. And 16 ways to turn each of those moments into something better. None of them require fancy tools or endless training. They just ask you to slow down, notice more, and choose differently. Picture it the way he'll look at you when the leash doesn't pull, when your voice stays calm, when you let him sniff a little longer, or wake up on his own. The way he'll lean into you not because he has to, but because he wants to. That's the kind of bond no one can buy, and no dog will ever need to forgive. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing from this list and change it today. Watch how he responds. Then pick another. Keep going until every one of these mistakes is just something other owners still make. And when you get there, you'll know. You'll see it in his eyes, feel it in the way he follows you, sense it in the quiet moments you share. That's when you'll know you're part of the 2%. The ones whose dogs don't just obey them, they adore them. And that's the only list worth being on.